We have, we have,
We have a, yeah, what we planned. What we planned was we will take a break in this one first session. We will then break
Just
and
10
come back
minutes.
for a Q&A. We'll cut Q&A session time a little short.
Okay.
We can take maybe another 20 minutes.
Okay. So this session will go for another 20 minutes before we break, or now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we will
Okay,
have a
good.
10 minutes break and come back for Q&A for 30 minutes.
Okay, all right. So, conflicts in marriage. I mean, so we will wind this session with conflicts in marriage. Okay, people use preventive medicine for everything. I mean, why do you take your vitamins? I mean, 50 plus Advantage, Centrum C, the other one. How many, those who take vitamins, raise your hands. Those who don't take vitamins, raise your hands. So, two pharmacists raise their hands saying that they don't take vitamins. Because, you do. Okay. Because I go to a restaurant and I say, like, I mean, if I go to an Indian restaurant, I want to see Indian people eating there. If I go to a Chinese restaurant, I want to see Chinese people eating there. If I see white people eating in a Chinese restaurant, then I have a problem with it, because if Chinese people don't trust the Chinese food that is given there, then I have a problem with the Chinese food that's being served there, right? So many times what happens is that pharmacists do not have faith in the drugs that they sell, and they sell it on other people, but they don't trust the drugs that they sell. So anyway, we use a lot of preventive medicine for our body, but why not for marriage? Ruth Graham was once asked, have you ever contemplated, everybody knows who Ruth Graham is. Ruth Graham is a late wife, a blessed late wife of Dr. Billy Graham. They've been married for many, many years, and she entered into eternity a few years ago, and she was once asked that, have you ever contemplated divorce? Very quickly, Ruth Graham told Larry King, divorce? No. Murder? Yes. And this is from Ruth Graham, not from me. But this is where every time that we are married, we're going to have trouble. We're going to have problem. There are going to be times where you just feel like it. You want to kill her. You want to just strangle her, because you just cannot. Because I was saying to someone the other day that stress relief, there are so many ways of doing stress relief. I mean, stress leads to frustration. Frustration leads to anger. Anger leads to aggression. That's the process. Stress, frustration, anger to aggression. So now, how do you relieve your stress? Now, if you go to a counselor, they would say, take a stress ball and then take it, and then you squeeze it, and then you release it. You squeeze it, you release it. Or you take a deep breath and then you take it out. That's why this Eastern mysticism now with the meditations and all these things is a breeding ground in America. What are you trying to do? You're trying to cathartically take your stress out. You're squeezing it. You're putting all your energy into it, and then you're going to release it. I say to women, take some godam mav and start hitting that and make some chapati. Put all that energy into the chapati. You're going to get one of the best, fluffiest chapatis that you can have. Take your lawnmower out. Men, take your lawnmower out and mow the entire lawn. That lawn is going to be really lush green if you do that. Or you can actually take your axe and cut out kodali and cut out some timber. Where are you? So do that. That's basically the cathartic. So Ruth Graham said, I had so many times that I just felt like killing him, but I never contemplated divorce. That's marriage. That's marriage. But this man was asked, Billy Graham was asked by Larry King, what is the secret of the success of your ministry? How many years that Dr. Billy Graham has been in ministry? I just really, I'm filled with awe when I remember this man. I think he will get pretty much the similar funeral service that a president of the United States will get when he dies. That's what I believe. I think there will not be a death and a funeral that takes place in the United States that is going to be as glorious as the death and the funeral service of Dr. Billy Graham. That's how much of respect that this man commanded on the face of the earth. But he was asked by Larry King that, Dr. Graham, what is the success of your ministry? And then Dr. Billy Graham said, prayer. And then Larry King asked one more time. He said, prayer. And the third time Larry King asked, what? And he said, prayer. And then Larry King is not going to let go. Larry King said, we know it's prayer, Dr. Graham, but give us some practical tips about what was the success of your ministry. He said two things. One, never ever traveled with a woman other than my wife, alone in a car or was in an office, ever in my life. Number one. Number two, never ever handled the financial affairs of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Ministry. I was a paid employee. Two things that kill men in their marriage life, in the ministry, in their lives, is one, that they become unfaithful to their spouses. And the principal, the late principal of the Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, Jerry Falwell. Dr. Jerry Falwell said like this, I'm coming out after a blessed worship service, and everybody was blessed with my ministry. Everybody loved my sermon. I'm driving in my car, and it is raining outside. And then I come very close to a bus stop. Sister Dorothy is standing there drenched in water because she doesn't have an umbrella. She's waiting for the bus. Dr. Dorothy sees Dr. Jerry Falwell's car fast approaching towards the bus stop. Sister Dorothy thinks that here comes my help. Sister Dorothy puts her hand out, hoping that Dr. Jerry Falwell will stop the car and will let her in. Dr. Jerry Falwell drives up to Sister Dorothy, stops the car, lowers the window, and then says to Sister Dorothy, help is on the way, and Dr. Jerry Falwell drives away. You understood the moral of the story? She said, yes, I could have helped her, but I'm not going to have a water-drenched woman from my church in my car by herself without my wife being in there. I took my cell phone, I called my helpers in the church, and I said, Sister Dorothy is standing by such a bus stop. Please send help to her. I can easily say that I am immune to all these things, but I have to be very clear and understanding of the perceptions of the people as well. I use an example like this to young people when they talk about moral choices that they make, and I say, let's say that today I preached to you and everybody enjoyed what I said, and then I go to a restaurant to meet with some of my friends, and then you happen to come to the same restaurant that I come. And then I have 4 of my work friends sitting with me in that restaurant, and all of them are drinking beer, and I am drinking ginger ale because I do not drink. But my friends drink alcohol, so they're drinking beer, and I'm drinking ginger ale. And Priya walks in, and then 5 of us sitting there. What's the color of beer? No, you don't know. What's the color of ginger ale? We could at least say the color of ginger ale is the color of beer, right? I mean, it's pretty much the same color. So now, what? Yellowish, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's the same color. Now, let me ask you, Priya, if you see me drinking, having a glass of ginger ale in my hands, and I'm sitting with 4 other men, and they all have beer in their hands, what is going to be your assumption?
You're drinking beer.
I'm drinking beer. Are you going to come to me and ask me, Pastor, are you drinking beer?
No.
You will go away assuming that I'm drinking beer. You already made a prejudgmental attitude about what I'm doing. This is why the Bible says in Thessalonians, do not even take the appearance of evil. Do not even take the appearance of evil. It's not evil. Some things that we do is not evil, but we do not even take the appearance of evil because we do not want to have even that perception about that to be made that way. Anyway, average number of marriages, 2.4 million, 1.2 million marriages in America fail. So we ask, if you have a problem in your marriage, whom would you approach first? And this is what we asked the 580 respondents. Look at the numbers. 28% said parents, 23% said their friend, 22% said we will tell God, 13% said pastor, 8% said nobody, 5% said professional counselor. Relatively okay graph, right? What do you find as a problem there? We have a huge problem in that graph, and I want you to identify that.
Friends?
None.
Tell me. No, spouse will not come, because if you have a problem in your marriage, would you tell first? I mean, so they're basically saying that, hey, they tried to work it out with each other, it's not working, but now they have a third person to whom they go to. 5% say 8% say they do not go to anybody. But that is natural. 8% will contain it to themselves because they will go through that problem themselves. But there is a huge problem in this number.
Parents?
What is the problem with parents?
But I think they will side with their own children.
Okay, so going to 28% is not a good thing. 28% going to the parents is a good thing. Okay, all right, but that's not a huge problem. It's only 28%. If 88% went to their parents, that would have been a problem.
Professional is 5%.
Professional is 5%, yeah, but still in the South Asian population, professional counseling is not something that is very common. I mean, they will go to my level, but they will still not go to a really certified professional counselor, Not going to God. I mean, again, I would not consider that as a big problem, Pastor, because if you just tell God and nobody else, probably, it's just, again, you have a problem where you're praying, but you're not trying to work out of your problem.
Pastor is fourth.
None is there.
Pastor is fourth in rank.
The green one, 13%. What does that mean?
He should
You
be
always have to
first.
look at the other side of it. 87% of the young people in the United States of America do not trust their pastor as the person to whom that they can go and tell them about a problem that they face in their marriage. And we can say this as pastors because we pastor churches and we feel that that's a huge problem. Because pastor is the shepherd of the flock. Pastor is the one to whom we should be freely opening up and saying, Pastor, we have a problem. We're having a problem. The pastor should know what is going on in the church, among the families, among the husband and the wife. 13% only go. 87% do not trust their pastors, but as people who can keep the confidentiality. That's a huge problem in our community. How much do you want to involve your parents in your family life? 30% said usually, 54% said sometimes, 8% said always, 8% said never. Now you understand why the combination of these two create a major problem. We asked factors causing marital instability. 73% said selfishness. 67% said sex outside marriage. 65% said unrealistic expectations. 60% said sexual addictions. Do you know the biggest problem that is facing today's generation? The biggest problem that is facing today's generation? There is one problem that is faced by 70% of the young people and more than 50% of ministers in the United States. Pew Research, not my research, Pew Research, Barna Statistics and Pew Research are the biggest Christian statistics in the world. And Pew Research says more than 50% of the pastors and more than 70% of the young people are affected by one problem: pornography. Would you believe that? Pornography. More than 50% of the pastors and more than 70% of the young people. Sexual addictions. Alcoholism, 59%. In-law issues, 56%. Financial conflicts, 54%. Workaholism, 50%. We took only those factors that were 50 and above and look at them. Top 10 reasons why marriages fail. And this is not from us. This is from secular. The one that I'm showing you here is from the South Asian survey that we did. This is from the secular issues: financial, communication, extended family, sex, friends, addictions, abuse, personality and mental health, expectations, time. Those are the 10 major factors. Keys to successful marriage, we asked the young people. 95% said submission, 98% said communication, 98% said family prayer, 99% said commitment, 99% said honesty, 99% said respect, 99% said trust. Now, I'm going to wind up by showing some ways in which you can actually overcome some of the problems or some of the problems that are causing frictions. If you're happy and you know it, if you're angry and you know it, if you're hurting and you know it, but the question is how? Paul says, I've fought the good fight, I've finished my course, I've kept the faith. In every marriage, you should be able to say, I've fought the good fight, I've kept my faith, I finished my course. I just wanted to spend a few minutes on fighting the good fight. There are 4 guidelines for fighting the good fight. Be honest and willing to admit that you may be at fault. Be honest and willing to just admit that you may be. You're not saying that you are, but just saying that you may be at fault. How many times that Priya would have walked away thinking that I drank beer and I was not drinking beer? Now, if I had an opportunity to go to Priya and say, Priya, smell it. It's not beer, it's ginger ale. Please don't think that it's beer. Will Priya be willing to say, yes, Pastor Uncle, now I understood. I made my assumption. It was a wrong assumption. I'm willing to change it, that wrong assumption, and walk away from there instead of saying that, no, I know it is beer, and it is beer, and it is beer, and it is beer. That's what happens in marriage. It's not beer. No, it's beer. I mean, no, it only the rabbit, how many horns does the rabbit have? No horns. Rabbits only have 2 big ears. You have to hold the rabbit by ears, not by the horns. So somebody says, though the rabbit that I held has 3 horns, and rabbits don't even have a horn. So be honest and willing to admit that you may be at fault. You're not saying that you're at fault, but you're at least saying that you may be at fault. Never try to hurt. There is a paradox in that. Never try to hurt. Without even trying, you've already hurt. So don't even try. You do not have to try. This is what I do. I mean, I'll argue with my wife. And I'll say, that's not the way you should have done it. No answer. And I will say, no, you should have done it the other way around. No answer. And then, she will be in the kitchen. And this is the way I should have done it. And now I become angry. Because now I go, and my pitch of voice increases. Because now she's making me angry because she's not reacting to me. I wanted to react to me. So now I'm trying to make it more and more forceful. That her reaction or lack of reaction is making me angrier. Never try to hurt. You're already hurt. Because by arguing with her, by yelling at her, the first time around itself, I've already hurt her. Now, by trying to escalate that to the next level, I'm hurting her all the more. When the desire to hurt arrives, everybody has a desire to hurt arrive. Everybody gets it. Now, when you're playing basketball, when you're playing football, when you're playing baseball, when you're playing rugby, all those times, when you know that you have to make the right move and you only have 2 minutes to end, and you know that you have so many of those decisions to make, what does the coach do? The coach calls for a timeout. Why can't you do it in your marriage? Why can't you call a timeout? When you are escalating at 110 degree Fahrenheit, when both are boiling at 110 degree Fahrenheit, nobody is going to listen to each other. You're trying to drown each other's words to each other. Both are yelling at each other. Now, we heard that. Right now before we left the house, there was this, there was a political discussion, and then the guy is trying to say something, and there are 2 women that are just basically talking and drowning each other. Nobody is listening to anything. That's what happens in many marital conflicts. Now, when that desire to hurt arises, take a time out. when you come back, I guarantee you, you're going to be different. Because when you speak, when you're angry, you're going to allow yourself to speak without thinking. If you are all Malayalis, I would have said this, but I mean, I would say this anyway. I've been a pastor for many years, and I've been in larger churches, and we have a problem with Malayalis. Malayalis usually speak in Malayalam, right? Malayalis usually speak in Malayalam, and most of the Malayalis who speak in Malayalam start speaking in English when they have the committee meeting. And I'm not kidding, because when the committee meeting happens, and when they are angry, they start speaking in English, and they speak in the most broken English possible. Because they're not thinking. They become angry and say, this. You know, that's anger. You know, the anger just coming out, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's nonsense. Many young people have left many Indian churches because of the fact that these people just do not know how to conduct themselves in general body meetings or committee meetings. Thank God for churches like this, where you're able to conduct yourself in a more civil way. But there are big churches which have hurt younger people, and they have left churches because of the fact that we become so adamant and arrogant and angry that we allowed our anger to get the better of our thought process. So always be willing to forgive. Minor problems changes to major if not addressed properly and in a timely manner. Communication is key. Conflicts are opportunities for growth. Deal with them openly, honestly, lovingly. Confess and commit to change. Commonly heard statements. He or she is a cause of all the problems. Our love for each other is gone. We don't talk anymore. He or she expects me to do everything. He or she makes all the decisions. I didn't know I married his family too. We cannot agree on finances. Sex life. What's sex life? These are commonly heard statements in our family marriage sessions. What is a common factor in all this?
Accusing.
Excuses, one.
Accusing.
Accusing. Accusation is another.
Blame.
Blame is another. There is one common factor in most of it.
Not
All.
taking.
All.
That is it. Universal generalization. Universal generalization. I mess up one time, but you tell me that you mess up all the time. I failed to take out garbage one time, you never take out garbage. You know, I yelled at her one time, they said, you yell at me all the time. So we just go from one extreme to another. We universally generalize. 9 tips to implement God's design for marriage. Follow God's direction, maintain purity at all costs, understand the importance of covenant relationship, be committed to each other at all times, focus on building up a generation for the kingdom of God, follow biblical principles on sex, not permitted outside of marriage, no cohabitation, divorce, homosexuality, unwed childbearing, abortion, extramarital relationship, abuse of any form, domestic violence, always be a Christ-centered family, pray together, security and honor. 4 things that needs to be established in ensuring that, I have only 2 more slides and I'm done. So 4 things that we need to do. Do I feel safe with him or her? Understand, a young woman was brought up in the custody of her loving parents. Now, after 20 or 22 years, she leaves the safety zone and the comfort zone of her mom and dad has now come into the hands of another man, and she's expecting the same safety and comfort in the hands of that man. Does she get that? If she doesn't get that, that becomes a problem. Security and honor. How will she feel or react when I share some of my secrets or some of my needs? How many husbands or wives are willing to say the most intimate thing that bothers them to their spouses privately? Something that is in their hearts, and say, this is what I feel. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to say to you. But when you say that to your husband, when you say that to your wife, how is she going to react to it? Is she going to react to it in a funny way, or is he going to react to it in a cynical way, or is he going to be okay with it? Do you feel comfortable sharing even the most intimate secrets? I do this, I mean, if we had time, we could have done this. There's a whole day thing in Just Marriage Alone. We could have done this. I will separate the couples and I will give them 4 questions. And I'll say, on a piece of paper, write down the color that your wife likes, the food that your wife likes, the dress that your wife likes, and then the vacation spot that your wife likes. Same thing, the color that your husband likes, the food that your husband likes, the dress that your husband likes, and the vacation spots that your wife likes. I have to tell you that in my experience, many travels, many results taken, more than 70% of the people flunk that test. 20 years of marriage, 25 years of marriage, you still do not know what is the most favorite color of your husband. You do not know what the most favorite food of your wife, which means you have not tried to learn your husband. You have not tried to learn your wife the way that you need to. So, discern the 4 phases of marriage. If you discern this, you basically got it. There is an infatuation stage or the romance stage. Do you know what that means? Roses are red, violets are blue, honey is so sweet, and so are you. Everything is fine and dandy. There is nothing wrong about the girl. Everything is good. Nothing wrong about the boy. That's going to be sometime, either in the love marriage phase before you get married, or in the arranged marriage phase after you got married, during the honeymoon phase. I mean, there is going to be that time when everything is fine. I mean, you can basically take your wife on your palm and then you will walk around with her. See, understand the fact that God did not take your wife from the head bone so that she can be on your head. He did not take you out of the foot bone so that he can trample her under your feet, but he took you out of the rib bone so that she can be close, nourished and cherished to your bosom. So that's what God expects. But infatuation stage is everything is bright and sunny. But then there is going to be that post-rapture stage. Do you know what that means? The plane took off, everything was fine, and after some time there is an announcement. We are going to go into some turbulence and put your seatbelts on, and we might be experiencing severe thunderstorms on the way. What happens? Go down, up, down, up, down. You feel that you're done. You feel that you're dead because your heart leaps to a point where you feel that there is no way that you can get out of it. But the pilot who's still in control, he knows. He asked you to put the seatbelt signs on, and he asked you to put the seatbelt on so that he can safely land you someplace. That's your post-rapture stage. Somewhere along your marriage, you're going to go through that post-rapture stage. I have to tell you that my post-rapture stage was after my first child was born. Up until then, everything was fine. My post-rapture was after the child was born. Do you know why? Huh? Attention gone. Because all the attention for 1 year, the first 3 years was on me. Everything was for me. Now it is feed the baby, change the diapers, take care of the baby, put the baby to sleep, and now I became a secondary citizen. So that is my post-rapture stage. In many couples' phase, when the child arrives, the husband becomes very jealous of the child indirectly, because you cannot show the jealousy towards the child because it is your own child. But then all that becomes an offset on to the wife. You know, the domino effect. The boss yelled at you at work, and then you came home, your wife brought you tea, and then you say the tea doesn't have enough sugar, and your wife thinks that, hey, the tea actually should have, the same like every other day. Why is he yelling at me? And now the wife becomes angry because the husband yelled at her for the tea, and then the children come and ask, can we play? And then mommy says, no, you cannot play, and mommy yells at them and said, after school, mommy always allowed us to play, and now mommy is yelling at us, and now the little dog, the little puppy comes and wagging the dog, and the children usually pick the dog up and play with the dog, but today the children kick the dog, and the poor dog doesn't know why he got kicked. It is because the husband got yelled at work, and that's a domino effect. That's what happens in most of our lives. We just do not know that progression of events. So that post-rapture state, it could be at the time that you found something in your husband's life that you did not expect, something in your wife's life that you did not expect. Sometimes your wife or husband failed an exam, or your husband or wife lost a job, or your husband or wife basically has something that you do not like that he or she is doing, or a child came on the way, or your in-laws came to reside in the house. All those things could be your post-rapture state. And then is the discovery stage. You can say all you want, I love you, 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 before you got married and right after you got married. But at the time of after post-rapture is the actual meaning of I love you. Even after your children are born, even after your husband or wife is not doing certain things that you expected them to do, and then you feel still safe in the hands of him or her, and that's when that discovery stage happens. Or then it moves into the connection stage. That connection stage is you can basically at that time do two things. Either you can resign or you can reconstruct. So after your infatuation, your post-rapture, you move into discovery, you can either resign or reconstruct. Resign is separate. You resign is divorce. Resign is fight. Resign is to move away from your spouse. But reconstruct is, what can I do to make things better? What can I make changes in my life so that I understand the weaknesses of my husband? I understand the weaknesses of my wife. What changes can I make to make my life and my children's life and my family life better? And that's the connection stage. Make 5 promises to each other. Confirm your beliefs to God's truths. There is nothing, no family that can succeed without the presence of God. Be filled with God. Make Him the centerpiece of your life. Find God's best in every trial. Stop the blame game. Serve each other all your living days. Communicate with love. Avoid 4 things in your marriage life. Withdraw. Do not withdraw from your spouse. Most of the time what happens is that the spouse withdraws, saying that end of discussion, stop. We are not talking about it anymore. I was saying something to somebody the other day. 24,000 to 26,000 words does a man have. A woman has. I mean, that's what psychology says. 6,000 to 8,000 words a man has. That's what psychology says. So basically, a woman has 4 times the number of words in a given day than a man has. So understand that if your wife is home and you are working, when you come, you have already exhausted more than 80% of your words at work, and you